Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
It's time for the Other Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts, Tim, Dave, and Jeremy.
Well, it's Tim and Jeremy anyway. We don't know where Dave is at the moment, but hello, everybody, and welcome to the Other Alliance Guys podcast. This is episode 2 for us, the Temple of Alliance. It is the sequel. So, Jeremy, how are you, my friend? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and yourself, sir?
I'm doing okay. Rough day at work, but glad to be doing this, and glad to be here with everybody. I got to turn on the chat here. Yeah, here's Jay. How you doing, Jay? What are we doing today? We're waiting for Dave, but as we do that, what we're touching on this episode in the next 60 minutes, we are looking at USA and Power recaps. We got a round table. Well, there's 2 of us anyway. I don't know how round you can be with 2 people, but anyway, we're taking a look at gimmicks in the NWA and what is happening now versus what traditionally used to happen in the National Wrestling Alliance and the differences between the two. What's working, what isn't. Jeremy's going to do the UWN results recap for us. Our segment, This is Awesome, You F'd Up. We're going to be talking about how awesome the pay-per-views have really been during the Lightning One era. And on the other side of that coin, what's happening with the not-so-great TV that we have seen over the last, well, I'll leave that up to you to decide. Hopefully Dave will be here to look at some fantasy booking around Idle Sports Management and Church's Money. But we'll see if he makes it. I see Willie's in the chat. Hey, Willie.
Hey, Willie.
Good to see you, buddy. We're ready for your Tyrus jokes at any time. But let's start off with the recaps from NWA USA, which is from season 3, episode 3. I know that they name these episodes and seasons around the taping schedule, but it seems so weird to me that we are on season 3 of NWA USA right now.
Yeah, I felt that was odd too. It seems like it's went by really fast. I understand that you're going with the taping schedule, but maybe stretch them out a little bit further. You know, let's make a 16 episode season out of 2 tapings or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe, and we can talk about this a little bit later, but maybe there's a different way that they can look at taping this down the road. And I'm sure they've thought about that. But I had my recap right in front of me, and now I don't. So I will pull it up right here. We go. So NWA USA from this past Saturday, season 3, episode 3, I think.
Yep. This
starts off with the lovely May Valentine, who is a treat on social media. You should follow her. She's very honest and very forthright. I like her a lot. She is interviewing, I'm using air quotes, Gags the Gimp. He didn't say anything. He sticks his tongue out at her. And for me, all I wrote down is that if this is any indication of today's show, it's going to suck. What did you think immediately, Jeremy?
That and I just we'll talk about Gags here in a little bit. I felt bad for May. I would have been completely uncomfortable, and if anyone knows Portuguese, because I'm pretty sure that's what she speaks, if they know what she says and can let us know in the comments or something, that would be awesome, because I'd like to know what she had to say about that afterwards, because she said something, but it was in Portuguese, and I, again, don't speak Portuguese. So
yeah, I would love to know that too. Yeah. Then we move right away to Kyle Davis interviewing Black Cheese with Austin Idol. My partner Raluca calls Black Cheese and Mr. T Pop Funko doll, which is mean because he's highly talented. Just short. anyway, the message is, they're the best. He calls people Knoxville nitwits. Gags comes out and he wants to wrestle. And I guess the match is fine. It's mostly G's. There's the zipper spot attempt. And Gags hits the can't believe I'm saying this out loud, the Gags reflex to win the match. What did you think of the match, Jeremy?
I was surprised that Gags got the win. I like Black G's a lot. I like him on the mic. While he's not the biggest guy, you can definitely tell he's not scared to back down, and he's got a good moveset that I think he would, with his moveset and his ring knowledge, he could go up against the bigger guys and it would be believable.
Yeah.
But overall, Gags won. Okay. Yay, I guess.
Well, if that was underwhelming for us, then the match that comes up next is AJ Kazana with Joe Kazana, and he's taking on Magic Jake with Christy Jane, CJ, we should call her, I guess. It's always been the story where it has been for the short period of time they've been together, where Jake and CJ aren't really on the same page. She's doing the flourishing assistant bit and hitting him in the face. She seems to be out of position or what have you. Dave is running late. He's stuck in traffic, but he's in the chat right now. So once he gets here, we'll pop him in. But he says that he smells a breakup in the near future with the loss to Gags. So, but in this match, where honestly, Jake showed a bit of agility in a strange flip that he did to get out of an armbar. That was the one thing that I could remember. CJ distracts the ref, but Joe Kazana ends up punching Jake outside. But CJ trips AJ Kazana in the ring and uses Jake's tie to hold the leg down. She's been useless up till now. And then suddenly she's incredibly useful. Joe Galli makes a comment like, was she playing the long game? I don't know why you'd play the long game. Well, I'm going to let him lose for a while, and then I'll have him win. I didn't get it. It seemed clunky, and I didn't understand the story. How about you?
I like both. I like both of these guys, and I'd like to see CJ get into the women's division. She's a good wrestler.
She is.
I didn't care for this match. Again, it was underwhelming. I didn't get it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, this was a pretty rough show up to this point. But we got, hey, it's only a half hour.
Right.
We got Pretty Empowered versus the Hex in a return match for the NWA Women's World Tag Team titles. The Hex came out like a house on fire, and they started a fight. It was nice to see. It wasn't a long entrance. They were here to throw down. They're pissed off about the loss. Pretty Empowered fights back to get some heat on Marty. AK's in like a house on fire, and they go for the Hex marks the spot, I think they call it. But it's broken up. And Ella Envy with the belt shot once again, and Allison Kay pinned in the center of the ring. Pretty Empowered retain. And afterwards, we kind of note that, well, Kenzie's caught on now. Kenzie Page is caught on to what's going on, but she leaves with the belt and her arm in the air. So again, I wasn't entirely sure if the storytelling, if we were supposed to see that Kenzie is not fully on board with this or not. Did you see it a bit clearer than I did?
I think I got the same from it as you. I don't know where they're going with this and why if this is something that they're doing, why so early in the run? I think it should have played out a little bit further. They should have gotten a couple more wins under their belt before she started having the veil lifted from her and seeing what her tag team partner really was all about. I'm curious to see how this plays out, but only because of curiosity.
Right.
that's just it because you presented it to me now. I want to see how you're going to play it out. But other than that, if it doesn't, I guess it doesn't. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Willie says that, Allison, who we're going to see more of on Power, and Genocide and Camille are his favorites. Some of mine too. There's Rick. He's in the house. Rick, good to talk to you. As sort of it is the first time, my friend. Rick has the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast, which is an excellent podcast itself. Put your details up here, Rick, and I'll flash them up on the screen. Thanks for being here.
Definitely.
And we are moving to season 9, episode 4 of NWA Power, and we start right off with a #1 contender match for the NWA Television Championship. We haven't seen a #1 contender match for the TV title in some time. We used to,
right?
And it's back. I kind of wonder how the participants are eligible to be #1 contender to the TV title at this stage, because it's Judas versus AJ Kazana versus Odinson. I'll flip it to you to go first, Jeremy, but I will note that we're back in the studio here, which
yes,
which surprised me. And one thing that really, look, I'm a Canadian. I have American family. My sister's an American. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but in the back right corner, from the viewpoint of the camera, there's an American flag hanging up like all the other flags. It's backwards. And I'm pretty sure that's a giant faux pas. But anyway, I'll flip it to you. What did you think of this three-way match?
I'm typically not a fan of three-way matches. I like this one, though, because it showcased Odinson, and that's somebody that I've wanted to see on a singles run for a while. I like the guy's moves. He's that Asgardian uppercut and his European uppercuts into the corner are just, they're so crisp, and they remind me a lot of Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli's European uppercuts. His are just so crisp and nice, and Odinson's are as well. I was happy to see him get the win. Again, like you, I'm curious as to how they determined that the three of these were going to be in there. But, it was nice to see a #1 contenders match, and I hope that they do this moving forward. We get to see somebody go for it at the beginning. They get a match or two with the person, and then they get the title shot or something.
Right. Right.
But, this was a good way to start something out if this is going to be a regular thing.
Yeah, I'm with you on the three-ways. A typical three-way here. There was a dumb slugfest in the middle with Judas and AJ Kazana, where it's just that sort of trading shots, and if I want to see that, I'll go watch the Murder Grandpa do that with Eddie Kingston somewhere. But other than that, all I could add was Odinson looks the best, and he picks up the win over AJ. I noticed that they went into the actual intro package after that, and that's been updated. If you take a look, with some new shots in there, so it's good that they're keeping up on it. Kyle Davis interviews Homicide next. Homicide loves the Mortons, and he's going to give Terry a title shot after he faces VSK, even though he doesn't deserve it. Anyway, I'm not saying that. Homicide's saying that. But the crowd loves him. He can't talk. Nobody cares. Homicide is the man. What did you think of this?
I love Homicide. It was a great promo. You can't have this belt. You want this belt? You want this? You can't have this belt. I lost it. I popped. Yeah. It's just Homicide being Homicide out there, and the world needs more of that. He's just, I really love his what he's got going on with this title run right now. It's well deserved, and I hope he keeps it for a little bit longer, because that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. Dave wrote for that, just for that last match we talked about. Continuity and the NWA are not friends, and that's something that they've got to improve on. A good three-way overall. Any hopes that AJ doesn't keep getting booked on the losing end? I'm okay with AJ getting booked on the losing end. I have nothing against the Kazanas, but I didn't know who the Kazanas were before they appeared on NWA TV. And I feel like I'm more invested with the guys who have been here for some time.
Yeah.
And if AJ picks up a win here and there and makes himself, more palatable to me as a viewer, no problem. But until then, Homicide versus Barrett Brown for the NWA World Junior Championship. That Barrett Brown, it would be a great angle. He never lost, so that'd be awesome. Jay and Willie says Laredo K would be a great match with Homicide. Yeah, it would be. That would be great. But we got May and Aaron who are up next in the cringiest segment of this show for me. They're in love, and their plane tickets to Brazil were canceled. Everybody canceled. Aaron's shooting on a story about how he met Rodney Mack, and there's this whole, again, to use my fiance's word, it's a very cringy bit about you can meet my mom, and he's like, well, we just go to the beach, and I don't know. We just learned they're in love, and already they're in trouble. Where is this going, Jeremy? I ask you, my friend, and why is it going there?
Honestly, I wish I fucking knew. Why?
Yeah.
It was. That was weird. That's what I wrote on my notes. This was weird.
This was weird. Yeah.
That's the only note that I wrote down for it. This was weird because it was cringier than the May Gags one. And
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that, but it did that oddly.
You know what? I'm going to leave it there. May goes interviews the Cardonas after this, and I should point out one thing I had forgotten. It was that there's supposed to be a special announcement at the end of the show by William Patrick Corbin. So it's important to remember. But she's interviewing the Cardonas who now tell us, Chelsea Green and Mike Knox and VSK, they tell us that they were all promised title shots by Billy. Now, it kind of sounds like one of those situations where Billy might come out and go, I didn't do anything of the sort, knock it off. But hey, it could be the case. But VSK is getting a shot at the World Junior Championship. Knox saying, Billy, hey, I haven't seen the call yet, and I'm getting a bit upset. But it sounds like they expect that everyone, including Matt, will get a title shot when in the near future. What did you make of this, Jeremy?
I guess this is how it's going now, or is the NWA is the WWE kind of bleeding into the NWA where you can just call your shot whenever you want? And the USA episode, Kylan King came out and challenged Allison Kay for #1 contender spot for the women's title. Another instance of somebody just calling their shots. So this one was kind of confusing. I did put down that Mike Knox was kind of funny with the whole, I don't have a cell phone, but I got a mailbox, so mail me a letter. That was the first time that I can ever remember enjoying Mike Knox. So kudos to you, Mike Knox. But I wish we had a clear outline of what the NWA is.
Right. I think we got to talk about that today. Yep. Dave Scooby our triplet brother stuck in traffic somewhere says Knox and Bully at 74. Let's hope so. I could get behind that.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Yeah. But then straight up we've got Thrillbilly Cyrus, who is out, and he lost in his debut. He's got Polo Del Mar, who I think Jay would agree, friend of the Alliance, up on the show yesterday with Jay. And he's got to win today, right? Because he's only facing the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion.
Oh, he's a shoe-in.
Yeah, he's a shoe-in. And I thought, I see something in Silas. There's something here. Like it's not even hard to find. But he pokes Trevor. He gets slapped out of his boots. He gets spine busted. He's largely beat up. He gets in some offense, but it's Trevor with the bulldog, and that's it. And Silas is down, and I wasn't sure. I mean, is this guy just in for a short period of time, and then he's going to find his way out? What do you think?
First of all, Pollo is not a hussy, first off. To the ingrate in the crowd that decided to call her a hussy out loud. Polo is a queen.
Yep.
And she should be addressed as such. And Silas reminds me a lot of a young Trevor Murdoch, size-wise and everything, and just that big bruiser. And the current Trevor Murdoch that we're getting. I wrote down that this is the Murdoch that I want to see every single time. Everything was so brutal. Everything was just violent. And I didn't know that slap across the face. And then, that was a slap. I've been slapped across there was no pull to that or anything. That clothesline almost immediately afterwards was just I haven't seen a clothesline like that in a while. He hurt that man. He had to have. Yeah,
it looked rough, and that attitude we're seeing out of Trevor continues at the podium, and I was delighted by this, not just by Trevor's demeanor, but because Kyle brings out Pope.
Yes.
Yes, they're going to push Pope into this title scene right now. He comes out once again to congratulate Trevor and say, you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps when everything was down and out, and you're the champ again. Congratulations. And Trevor just looks at him, picks up the title, and leaves, leaving Pope standing there. And I just went,
Yep.
That sounds good. Yeah.
That's why they're getting my money. Because I don't want to see this secondhand. I don't want to see it on Friday anymore. Because of Trevor, and that's the God's honest truth. I'm here for Trevor. I'm fully invested in this run that he's going on, and I want to see more of it as long as possible. Just having him run roughshod over everyone.
Dave says would like to see a group of good old boys. Trevor plus Silas and AJ as backup. Yeah, man.
Oh, yes.
And,
yeah. Okay.
Jay loves 2022 pissed off Trevor Murdoch. Yeah, I think we all do. So you mentioned a moment ago about, is this the WWE where you can just pick your own shots? Well, May's interviewing Allison Kay. And she says that the Hex isn't going anywhere, but she wants Camille. They've got some unfinished business. And Kylan King walks by and says, oh, hey, just happened to be walking by. I've also got unfinished business with her. So you and I will fight for the #1 contender spot to the World Women's Championship. And I thought back to our first show where, one of the things I thought the NWA was doing right was taking Kylan at the end of her loss to Camille and saying, I'm going to go back down to the bottom. I'm going to work my way up. We're all going to be waiting to see if she takes this belt. So next week, it's a #1 contenders match?
Yeah. I had completely forgotten about that. You know, the whole
Yeah.
head boo boo. You know, that I completely Where so the ladders run one rung high. It's a step stool.
Yeah, I do not get it. Like, I would love to see somebody, and I think Tim Storm's the perfect guy for it, to come out as an authority figure and go, you know what? You guys don't actually get to decide this. We'll be
Yeah.
telling you who gets title shots.
We've got Medusa on USA as the head person, and Tim Storm was the co something or commissioner or GM or
Yeah,
manager or something. You
yeah,
know, so give him power. Give Medusa USA. You know, and yeah, I agree with you there. An authority figure coming out and saying no, this is what's going to happen. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's just I don't really get it. We get a quick replay of what's happened between the Fixers and the Mortons that leads up to our next match. Um, yeah, DKM says executive producer. Yeah,
Yes.
I think
Yes.
we're co-managing directors or something officially, but yeah. Uh, anyway, what's happened between the Fixers and the Mortons on a couple of occasions to try to tell us why we're having Jay Bradley versus Kerry Morton in a catch weight exhibition match. I don't know if you noticed that, but
Yes.
that was what was written on the screen to highlight the size difference, I imagine, between the two. Um, listen, like 3-4 weeks ago, you had Tyrus fighting KC Rocks in a body slam competition. Like, there's no need to be putting like catch weight. This is pro wrestling. Everyone's
Right.
going to wrestle everybody. Um, anyway, for me, Kerry's really green, but he's learning. Jay Bradley just beats him up and no sells some of his stuff. Um, and it's almost all Bradley. Kerry hits his running knee strike and rolls up Bradley to win. I was surprised. What did you think?
I I want to give a I didn't get the catch weight thing. I'm with you on that, but I did like the fact that Joe Galley took 30-45 seconds to explain why Wrecking Ball and Ricky were allowed to be at ringside. I did like that. Just that small little, hey, they're out here because the rivalry's been so bad between them. You know, they don't want any shenanigans. And Billy's said that you guys can be out there, even though they're not managers. I appreciated that. Um, the match was the match served its purpose. We're building up sympathy for Kerry. You know, he is a future legend. I was telling my youngest earlier, whenever I was watching it, going back and watching it for today's show, that he's probably one of the luckiest wrestlers in the world right now
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that he's the son of one half of the greatest tag teams of all time. He's in the NWA right now at such a young age with so many different veterans of this business that he has to learn from outside of his dad. You know, he's in a great position right now. He's getting enough exposure, you know, but it's not enough to bury him. The match, like I said, served its purpose. You know, we're building up sympathy for Kerry while also showing that Jay Bradley can go. He is I love Wrecking Ball and he's fun and he's good in the ring, but Jay Bradley is the workhorse of that team
Right.
and definitely the brains.
Right.
You know, and it was a mauling, and that's what it should have been. That's exactly what it should have been.
Yeah. I love that Jay Bradley's the brains, and not saying anything against Jay Bradley because I'm sure he's no dummy, but he's the brains of that outfit. That makes me laugh a little bit too, right? That just tells you how funny Wrecking Ball can be as well.
Yes.
You know, I put this back up just quick. As Dave saying, Fixers need to stick to tagging, leave Carino to his own devices. Yeah.
Yes.
I liked him as a tag team as well, but I meant to put this one up. Keep deals as far away from any type of upper management. Look, I might be the lone dissenter in the Alliance family. I'm sure DKM is going to chew me out for this. I don't hate Danny Deals. I think he's funny.
I snicker and giggle at him every time he opens his mouth. I like what he's got going on with Medusa, and the whole neck brace. He's fully committed to that. The guy is that's what I appreciate about him. That's why he gets the business, and he's fully committed to this character. He's a sleazeball, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. Did you freeze? I think. Oh, there you are. You're back. Okay. You're back there now, Jeremy.
Oh, okay. I'm here for. I like Danny Deals. I giggle every time he comes on. He's fully committed to this gimmick. You know, the neck brace and what he's got going on with Medusa and playing all that out. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. You know, we're about to talk about gimmicks, and it's going to feel like I'm backtracking a bit. But I think if you tweak Danny Deals a little bit, he can be a good addition to the show. Hey, Sean Mega's here. He joined Willie, I think, in saying, hey, Laredo Kid, he's easy to book.
Yep.
That's 2 votes for Laredo Kid in the chat right now today. So thanks for being here.
I'm almost positive Laredo's booking info's on his bio on Twitter.
Oh, there you go.
Don't quote me on that, but I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. He's not hard to find.
Right. So then finally we go to the real meat of this show, which is Billy Corgan's out with Kyle Davis. And he talks about, you know, he's the steward of the NWA legacy, and keeping it clean is his job. And I didn't really know what he was getting at first, but he announces the Race to the Chase tournament to face Trevor Murdoch at 74. And he announces 3 matches. He's got the Pope versus Brian Myers. He's got Chris Adonis versus Tom Latimer. And he's got Nick Aldis versus Tim Storm. Why Tim Storm? He says because Tim had given up his chance to ever fight for the 10 pounds of gold again. He has lifted this ban as the president and owner of this company, and he's letting him in this little tournament to see who faces Trevor. Look, you could let me lead for a second, and then I'll pitch it to you.
Okay.
I love Tim Storm. I think Tim Storm is the greatest, at least like 2 years ago, and even now, was the greatest babyface the NWA had. He's perfect, which is why he'd be such a great on-screen authority figure. Tim's 57 years old, and he can still go. He still looks great, but he is a commentator now, and his last few matches, as he kind of, slowed down the wrestling, have all been losses. On top of all of that, when I'm asking the question, this is a question right here, why another tournament? But why is Tim Storm in it? No, this Tim Storm being in it means no Jack Stain. It means, if he's back from injury or not, no Anthony Mayweather, no Harry Smith. That's a spot that could be in this right now. No Samuel Shaw. Could Doug Williams have taken a spot here? As weird as this sounds, it's my air conditioner. As weird as this sounds, could Tyrus have filled a spot here? Would that not have made sense? What did you think of the announcement and how Tim Storm's involvement affects it as well?
It's a feel good. It's a heartstring tugger. Like you said, where's the Sam Shaws? Where's the Jack Stains? Where's the Rodney Macks? Even the Tyrus? Have him go in there and just do the JOB. Show that he can lose, and then have the person that he loses to lose, and then take the belt from him.
Yeah.
You know,
There's a lot of ways here, and unless Billy comes out next week and says that was just one side of the bracket, here's another bracket, then we're going to end up with 3 people. Once again, another 3-way match to see who faces Trevor.
Yeah.
And look, I don't know if you can call 3 matches a tournament plus a final.
Yeah, and you've got Tom Latimer, got Chris Adonis. You know, hopefully that is just one half of the coin. You know, we do have another side to the bracket. You know, because there's a lot of guys that you can bring in for this.
Yeah, you know, and Jay's pointing out here too that 3 of the names, well, Harry Smith and Jack Stain are champions. Williams is a champion if he was in this as well. But we'll talk about this in a little bit. That never used to stop anyone from being eligible to get a crack at the world championship.
Right. And you have them lose by a dusty finish or something. Something, you know, to where they don't look bad in defeat, but they're not going after it. They're there to fill a spot.
Yeah. I don't know again about Tim in this. I thought there were other options. You just had Samuel Shaw in the World Championship match at Always Ready, and if you were looking for someone else, I don't know, it had to be Tim. But it's an emotional moment for Tim Storm. He's super happy. That was kind of cool. Sean Mega says, well, we did mention Tyrus, but don't forget Homicide. Yeah, World Junior Champion. Is he not eligible? He's on a winning streak. Probably should have proved himself to be part of this tournament. But those were the shows, and boy, am I ever terrible at figuring out how long these things are going to take on paper, eh? But anyway, let us go and talk about our main topic tonight, which is gimmicks, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and what the NWA historically gave us for gimmicks. And I wanted Dave to be here for this to ask a question before I kind of flip this right over to you to sort of spearhead for us.
Okay.
If you were drafting into you had to draft 4 people in the NWA right now, just in the NWA active today, onto a team for a wrestling event, who would they be for you?
If I had to draft 4 active wrestlers.
Yeah, there's no wrong answers. Out of the roster, who would you take?
Camille, Genocide, Trevor Murdoch, Tom Latimer.
Yeah. So we essentially picked 4 people there. Like I was thinking men, so that's a really great answer. I would have gone, Murdoch, Aldis, Latimer, and I really like Harry Smith and Samuel Shaw. There's no gimmick there, is what I was getting at. There are some focus in the NWA for some guys who were not super gimmicked up, but there has been a turn recently to other gimmicked wrestlers and versus the I'm wearing Magnum versus Tully right now. I'm just speaking on the persona version of gimmicks anyway. You know, and Ric Flair had a gimmick.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm probably getting off topic. I just wanted to point out, like, we do have some really serious talent in this company who aren't a mess. But the NWA recently has been giving us a bunch of, you know, if it's good, the bad, and the ugly, we've been getting some ugly recently. What are your thoughts on this topic?
So every wrestler has a gimmick, whether it's outwardly visible or not. Every wrestler has a gimmick. The gimmicks range from just a extension of their personality bumped up to 10,
Right.
or it's a full-blown character like Gags the Gimp. We talked about this before the show started. There's something for everyone in wrestling.
Right.
And if this is what the NWA is giving us, okay, it's your company. I have no say in this. I'm a guy sitting on my couch, but again, this goes back to a comment I made earlier. Lay it out to us what you are. This is the NWA in name alone to me at this point. I don't see a lot of what I grew up with. And I know that that's not practical, but I'm a grandparent now.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather was the person who introduced me to wrestling. He would not have taken me to wrestling shows if there was somebody that was coming out in Gimp costumes. Flat out wouldn't have. Flat out would not have. And there were kids right there at the entrance. There was 5 or 6 of them on Power. When Gags came out for the Gags Black G's match. And again, I mean, maybe their parents are into it. I don't know. I'm not. I don't get it. I don't care for it. And it's that was something that I was going to do with my granddaughter, was watch wrestling. And now I if Gags is on, she's not in the room with it even. Because even though she's 7 months or 7 weeks old, 8 weeks old, she's not. I don't want to expose her to something like that. I don't.
Yeah, I fully agree. And there's a difference. I'm not going to say this correctly, but there's a difference in my mind between a wrestler having a gimmick and a wrestler being a gimmick.
Right.
And I feel that's the difference between the NWA and the WWE/WWF. So, when the NWA, and this is really, I guess, my statement, when the NWA, when I was younger, gave me Magnum TA, Tully Blanchard, the biggest gimmick out there was Nikita Koloff, and he was over. Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and Ricky Morton, and the list goes on. The WWE at the same time, or around this time anyway, was giving you Hulk Hogan as a cartoon character.
Yep.
You had some great talent in Roddy Piper and Randy Savage, but there was that whole over-the-top trash man, plumber, everything else. And I feel like if the core NWA audience right now, under the Lightning One leadership, if they're here originally for nostalgic reasons, then is Lightning One pitching a modern day version of that product, or are they playing to the audience, that core audience that came here to watch that?
See, and that's a great question, because that's, like you said, we had the Ultimate Warriors and the Roddy Piper, who was still Roddy Piper that we had in the old Portland territories and everything. But the Scottish was amped up to 25, and the bagpipes that was just him coming out in a kilt was just, I'm Scottish, But WWE took it and made it cartoon. And I wasn't there for that. We talked, again, throwing back to what we talked about before we went live. I didn't get into the cartoon things like that.
Right.
I was there for the NWA, WCCW, World Class days, where the gimmick was just an extension of the personality, not a cartoon character version of it.
Yeah, and you know, I'll touch on this with the chat right now. I'll just go back. Willie said, that's the magician. He's talking about Magic Jake. His gimmick is stupid. I agree. I especially hate the cigarette. You know, by the way, Brian Rosa, Thunder Rosa's husband, friend of the Alliance, is here. Brian, I'm probably never going to get another opportunity to tell you this. Your wife is the reason that I primarily kept watching the NWA when I came back to it under Lightning One. And what a workhorse, what a talent. And, you know, please pass on our great respect for Thunder Rosa.
Yes. And thank you for the comment on the Hood Slam shirt, Brian. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here.
Look at that. That's awesome. Rick Del Santo along this line says, listen, gags is a major complaint right now at the NWA for me. I can't stand it. I watch with my 6-year-old saying just what you were saying, Jeremy. My 6-year-old son each week who loves watching the NWA. And Willie remarks that the NWA pro wrestling has wrestlers. WWE creates cartoon characters, and that's really what we want to keep separate. And I'm worried that the gags of the world, and to a certain extent the Magic Jakes, and others like that, are going to take away from, you know, the type of wrestler who, when we just a few minutes ago said, who would we draw if we were drawing out of as NWA fans? And we said who we said, and Scooby said, where did it go? For his draw, he'd pick Jack Stane, Tom Latimer, Trevor Murdoch, Samuel Shaw. Those are the 4 straight up badasses right there.
Yes.
And, you know, and they're different enough for each other that they don't have to be gimps or magicians or anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, because we're going to be long again. Let's go into this is awesome. You effed up. So what's going right in the NWA? And this week, that is we're talking about the pay-per-views. And so what's gone right for them? The NWA pay-per-views for me have largely been good. You had, and I'm just going to go back through the Lightning One era.
Okay.
So Into the Fire, we had, which is December 2019. We had, that was Aldous and Storm. You had Aaron Stevens and Colt Cabana for the national title. You even had the Rock and Roll Express facing the Wild Cards. You had Hard Times in January 2020, where you had Aldous taking on Flip Gordon because there was a problem over Marty Scurll and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Ricky Starks, however, won the TV title, I believe, at that pay-per-view. Then they were off because of COVID. No complaints with that, but for over a year, back for the Attack. Not my favorite event of all time, but it was in there. It wasn't terrible. When Our Shadows Fall, which was June of last year, that was Camille and Deeb. That was Aldous and Murdoch. So we've had some good pay-per-views early on, and we ended up going through Empower, and I know Empower wasn't super well received by everyone, but Empower meant something. It meant something to wrestling in this era, and I say wrestling as a whole, because not just women's wrestling, but for what women's wrestling is now and has become in the last 5 or 10 years, and it was a super important event. We had the Hex Crown there. We had legit Layla Hirsch fight Camille there. Chelsea Green won the Burke Cup there. We had Hard Times 2, which had Aldous fighting Latimer in that grudge match. We had ROH come over in OGK. There was Murdoch and Knox. Then we had Crockett Cup, which brought us the Briscoes and Aldous and Cardona, and then we had Always Ready was, I guess, the most recent one. And Murdoch wins that 4-way. Whether you thought that was great or not, they were stuck and they scrambled and they gave us something, and I enjoyed that pay-per-view. And we had Camille versus King in this show stealer of the night. So we've had some really good pay-per-views out of the NWA, whether they're a B or A rating in everyone's mind, and I'll get you for your opinions on them, Jeremy. Feel free to dissent if they weren't your favorite. But for me, I thought the pay-per-view productions have been really great.
Overall, I'm in complete agreement with you. And to throw to something that Dave put in the chat, the pay-per-views are almost always good. There's highs and low points in them, but overall they're good products. But the momentum does not carry over afterwards.
Yeah, like our brother Dave is saying right now, and he's been there and
Yeah.
watched it firsthand. Cheap plug from Brian says, check out MPW. That's Mission Pro, guys. You want to see some good women's wrestling? 100%.
Matter of fact, Brian, throw your tags in the chat and we'll get them up on the screen.
Yeah. Damian Cole, I'm sorry I missed your comment earlier. This is my second episode doing this, so who had the biggest or most well-known gimmick? I will leave for you guys in the chat, because I'll be talking for 20 minutes and we'll be here for even longer.
That's my son.
What's that?
That's my son.
Oh,
I do.
Well, that's awesome. So you effed up. What's wrong? Well, the pay-per-views are great. I submit to you that the TV shows are not that great. And look, I always want to come from this from a point of positivity. I love the NWA. I want to see it improve in areas and where, we all, I think, largely think it needs some improvement. Some of my points: NWA USA started off great. That junior title, tournament and defenses. We had the Fixers there. We had Markova. Remind me to talk about Natalia and Markova after this, but
okay.
And it, by and large, it has worsened to now we're looking at the Miserably Faithful. And just to clarify, when I'm talking about the Miserably Faithful or the Karzanas or Magic Jake or even Gags, it's not that talent that I'm complaining against.
No.
There is talent there. There is bad gimmicks and there's some questionable booking, and it seems like it's really slid downhill, and the TV overall. And on top of that, just kind of the kind of gimmicks we're getting or booking we're getting, as it progresses, to your point and Dave Scooby's point, the booking seems to kind of miss the continuity, and it's clunky is the word I keep thinking. It's clumsy in its delivery. Sometimes it makes it, like we mentioned earlier, Joe Galli will say something. You'll go, okay, that's why Ricky Morton's out here. That makes sense to me. They try to fill in the gap a little bit, but other times I'm shaking my head going, what's happening here? And I kind of wonder what's going on.
I'm in complete agreement with you there. I don't know where the disconnect comes from between the pay-per-views and the live shows. It's very clunky, very clumsy. It feels rushed. Like it's just, okay, this looks nice. Maybe we can make something out of this. Like you're throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks for the TV shows. Is exactly what it feels like.
I sometimes wonder or suspect that it's the way that the shows are taped after the pay-per-view and the amount of attention that can be given to editing or production. And I wonder down the road, this should honestly be more of a question, like it certainly isn't one for me, but maybe for someone like Dave or Jay who understands how these things are produced. But I wonder if it's largely because how the shows are taped, and even beyond that booking or that clunkiness, as and me being unclear as to who's a heel or a face sometimes. I just want to know what's going on. That's all, Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. Let's go. It's 6:55. Let's go to the UWN results recap, and let you tell us what's happening in the world of the United Wrestling Network.
All right. So we'll start off with Championship Wrestling from Memphis. And the show opens with a recap of the attack on the Gun Show Bret Michaels by Big Jack and Brother Bruce and Money Mike, showing getting thrown through the table. Then we go to K Toomer comes out and addresses his upcoming main event match later on tonight with Mads Kruger. Then we've got the Great American Clash match with Norman Meklikoff and Trace Hunt, and Austin Lane comes out. Trace Hunt gets the win with this, or in this match with a diving headbutt off the top rope. And then after the match, Austin Lane pile drove Matt Williams, which immediately got him a suspension because pile drivers are illegal in Memphis wrestling. Then we go to Hollywood Jimmy Blaylock and the Hollywood Clique. They come out to introduce the newest clients, Colton Cage and Brian Miles, the Elements of Wrestling. Then that goes into a match between the Elements of Wrestling and Country Rock. The Elements get the win after some interference from the LA Hustlers. So we'll be seeing the LA Hustlers and Country Rock probably renewing their rivalry more in the coming weeks. Then we get Cassandra Golden backstage with Mackenzie Morgan, talking about how would like to get her hands on the women's title in Memphis. And then she has a match with Nyx. The match is thrown out whenever Dirty Diana Taylor comes out. She had gotten pinned by Nyx last week with the DDT clean in the middle of the ring. So she came out and attacked both women to get some retribution. So we'll be seeing some more of that coming up. And then we had DNA and Adam Priest. The DNA guy, I was at first thinking that he would make an interesting tag team partner with Mads Kruger. They kind of come out with a mask and both big tatted up guys that just kind of run roughshod in the ring. And he got the win over Adam Priest. That was a really good match. This was one of my favorites of the night. After the match, dysfunctional Brandon Espinoza came out, and it appears that DNA and Brandon Espinoza are now going to team up with each other and do their best to take out everyone in Memphis wrestling. Then we had a little behind the scenes or backstage thing with Buff Bagwell. He will be at the Wrestle Center next week to talk to Mike Anthony, the Memphis champion. And then Brad Skimmerhorn and Uncle Mikey came out to challenge the Posse for the Memphis tag titles. The Posse have Briar Skimmerhorn, which is Brad's brother, and they told Uncle Mikey and Brad that if they can have their shot for the tag titles, but they're going to keep Briar, or they can get Briar back. But if they lose, they cannot go after the tag titles again as long as the Posse has them. So we'll be getting that match next week, I believe, and I'm interested to see that. And then in the main event, we had K Toomer versus Mads Kruger. K Toomer got that one clean in the middle of the ring after a spear. I really like what they're doing with K Toomer and how they're bringing in outside monsters, and he's taking them out. Not easily, but not having much difficulty either. K Toomer is a guy that I'm very high on right now in Memphis wrestling. Next, we go to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. The show opens with a match between BHK, Kevin Martinson, and Peter Avalon. Avalon got the win with a pile driver clean in the middle of the ring, clearly setting up that his feud with Ray Rosas isn't going anywhere, and he's not the Peter Avalon that left Championship Wrestling to go to AEW. He's a more formidable opponent now, and he looked good. I wasn't really a big fan of Peter Avalon, but this storyline between him and Ray Rosas is kind of swaying me some.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah,
he's fun. He's really good. He's clean in the ring. I remember seeing him in You Can't Kill David Arquette. That's who he chose as his trainer. And David Arquette, I'd say what you want about him. He came back and tried to redeem himself. I felt that he redeemed himself. But then we had Jordan Clearwater backstage talking about how he is a fighting champion. He is the people's champion, as he put it. This kid's just smarmy as hell. I like him. He's a ton of charisma. He's definitely a future star. And I said, I believe last week, that he's young enough. He's got room to grow. If he doesn't hold this for long, that's okay. It's not going to tarnish him any. I'm intrigued to see how he moves forward with the title.
Right.
Next, we had Invictus Cash versus Dustin Daniels. Invictus got the win with the Fujiwara armbar. It was what it was. It was a squash match, and Invictus had gone undefeated, and then he lost. Prince Nana went away for a little bit, his manager, and then he took a loss. Now Prince Nana's back, so Invictus is going to get built back up again to be a powerhouse. Then we got a Milo and Alex Gracia. Now Alex Gracia, this was her debut match. She most recently was in Reality of Wrestling, Booker T's promotion. This was a good match. They both told a good story throughout. The match did end up getting thrown out. Marina Shafir came out, caused a no contest after attacking both wrestlers. I like what they're doing with Marina Shafir. Whenever she was in NXT, she was with Shayna Baszler and Jessamine Duke. And of the three of those, I enjoyed Marina Shafir's work a lot more. I like Shayna Baszler's work. She's good, but she's definitely a lot more of a catch chain wrestler, whereas Marina's more of a wrestler that I'm accustomed to seeing. Not everything's 15 moves after another, so I like that. Then we got Zicky Dice talking about being the Heritage Champion. He makes comment of how many times he's done various things with this, Zicky being Zicky Dice. Jordan Cruz comes out and tells him that he wants his rematch, and he doesn't take the title lightly, and it's not a joke to him like it's coming across that Zicky thinks it is. Zicky accepts his match with the stipulation: if he loses, he cannot challenge again as long as Zicky is the champ. It's Zicky. I have nothing bad to say about Zicky. I've liked the guy since I got introduced to him whenever he ran in NWA, and I moderate for him on his Twitch stream, so I'm kind of biased a little bit towards him. I just like the guy. He gets wrestling, Yeah. Then we get the Midnight Heat with Guy Tweakazetti versus the Wolf Zaddies.
Nice.
I love the Midnight Heat.
Me too.
They are a throwback to Tully and Arn. Just good old school tag teams. They're a lot of fun. They work really well together in the ring. the Wolf Zaddies work really well together in the ring, and they both teams. It was just a nice clash of styles, and it was a fun match. Midnight Heat steals the win with a quick roll up and a handful of tights by Precious Eddie Pearl. Then we get Prince Nana comes out to talk and explains where he's been at for a while. He's been out scouting talent, and he's got a new guy. Mike Goga, the trainer to the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood Stars, comes out and says that he'd like his guy to go up against Prince Nana's new guy. Prince Nana agrees with that, and we get an announcement that match will happen next week, I believe. So I'm interested to see that. Mike Goga's guy is the man that gave the loss to Invictus Cash. So I'm curious to see where that goes. And then we had the match with Jordan Cruz and Zicky Dice for the Heritage Championship. This a win via count out after a low blow on the stage. This is the one combined. It was a match. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad either. But it was what it was. It did what it was supposed to do. You know, now Jordan can't challenge Zicky while as long as he's got the belt, he can't go after the belt. So it served its purpose, and it did what it was supposed to do. You know,
Right.
So, but that's the wrap up. Both of them were good shows. I enjoyed them both.
Yeah, we love our UWN. A big Zicky fan myself. So thank you for that. I want to quickly talk about something, and this is something for the chat, I think, as well. It's all kind of slapped into one little paragraph here. Does the NWA need to give us any clarity? And I'm talking about a few things. For one, historically, you had the tag ropes. You had to tag a guy's hand. Back slaps is if you're a cornet guy. Back slap tags are the devil's work. And I don't know that I'm a cornet guy entirely, but so are back slap tags legal? If you're the national champion, are you still the #1 contender to the World's Championship, as it used to be back in the day? Never heard anybody say that in the Lightning One era. And as another example on some clarity I would love to see, if I found on Reddit recently that if you look at the back of the 10 Pounds of Gold DVD set, which I do not own, they list all of the NWA World's Champions. And they list a number of names of people that have long been considered not to be NWA World's Champions. And we could say, I mean, does it matter if Jack Veneno is listed? Does it matter if Bobo Brazil is listed on the back of that Lightning One produced 10 Pounds of Gold DVD as an NWA World Champion? In that particular case, I would say, yes, it does. Because in Bobo's case, it would make him the first black NWA World Heavyweight Champion of all time.
Exactly.
So, do they owe us any clarity? Is my question. Do they owe us in any way who the champions are? Do they owe us clarity on the contenders and how they're done? Do they owe us any clarity on how tags are made? Or do we just have to go along and say, it doesn't matter, Tim, shut up and move on to the next thing, because who cares? Everybody else is doing it. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think it does matter. And it matters because they do take the effort from time to make it matter. Like I said earlier, you know, Joe brought up the fact of why it was that Wrecking Ball and Ricky Morton were allowed to be out at ringside.
Right.
You know, they put in catch weight for some reason for that match. uh, to signify that this was an open weight match for whatever reason, essentially. So if you're going to do little things like that, then you need to be clear on the bigger things as well. Bobo Brazil definitely deserves to be recognized. He held if he held the belt, and he did, we know this to be true. Even if he held it for 3 minutes, you still held the title. You were still considered the NWA champion. I don't care who somewhere down the road decided, yeah, no, I don't want that as a representation for whatever reason. That's a moot point to me. They held the title.
Right.
Flat out. There's
I wonder in the modern age if it isn't more important that we do make these recognizations now that we didn't make in the past. Veneno, I'm probably not saying the name correctly, but he pinned Ric Flair in Puerto Rico. And I mean, there's a whole story around that about how, Ric Flair doesn't believe he would have gotten out of the country alive if right. And then the decision was reversed by the NWA because, Jack wasn't going to tour outside Puerto Rico. He was a hometown guy. He got a lot of goodwill amongst his hometown. But would it not behoove the NWA to tell us, we have, we do recognize champions now who, we didn't recognize before because, I don't know why. Maybe because the situation didn't allow for it. Willie says Bobo Brazil defeated Buddy Rogers. Yeah. And Ron the Truth Killings is NWA, I believe, recognized currently.
Yes.
As the NWA's first black world champion. Bobo would be recognized if that's the case. And
yes.
So I kind of think that they need to give us this clarity. I think it's important in the environment we live in today. Dave Scooby says there needs to be some rules and structure to follow, a time and a place to make some exceptions, but make it make sense in the long run.
Exactly. And that touches back to something I was saying earlier, a trash can shot to the head. I'm all for that as long as it makes sense.
Yeah.
And to the tags, I've noticed this a couple different times. I've seen where 1 or 2 times the ref's like, you need to grab the rope. You need to grab the rope. And wouldn't allow the tag in the NWA in the past couple of months. Or the back tag. I've seen that once or twice to where the back tag, they didn't count that. It's got to be hands. But then there was a back tag earlier. So
yep.
It's consistency. Again, consistency is their biggest enemy.
I just feel like yeah. I feel like this is a promotion that prides itself on history and tradition, legacy,
history, legacy, and tradition.
Right. And if we're going to do that, why don't they, I say we, because we're part of this too. Why don't we embrace that fully? It's a very simple decision to come out and say, hey, from now on, that's a tag.
Yep.
It doesn't, unless we're doing Lucha Rules match where you dive out of the ring and the next guy's in, hey, that's the way it's going to be. And
40 seconds.
Right. And that core audience, I think, that really made up the core of everybody who came back under Billy Corbin would go, yes, that's what I want to see. No, I don't want to see you throw him over the top rope, and that's a disqualification. That was in some areas of the NWA, that used to be a rule. But even that, you could say that's not going to be part of this moving forward.
And you could make that for championship matches. You go over the top rope, you've lost. Something like that. There's ways to work all of these in as long as they make sense. And if you just 30, 40 seconds here and there, just to take a moment to explain it, at the end of the day, as much as human beings don't want to do their own thing and everything, we like structure, we like organization, we like rules,
Right.
And we like to see those in front of us, so that way we know what we can and can't do.
Right. What we can expect moving forward.
Yep.
I think this is the company to do it, and I kind of hope that they're listening. But we have run late as always. I'm going to have to talk less on these things, man, because you got some good insights, but I just feel like I'm just this guy half the time.
Oh no.
That's it for us though. Dave isn't here today, but he's been in the chat. Dave, we missed your handsome face, my friend, and your voice on the line, but we'll get you in here next week. There's some comments. I have missed the comments.
I like that one that Dave said with the comic books about, wrestling is a live comic book, and exactly 100%.
Yeah, there it is there. Imagine if comic books didn't have storylines and things just happened. Pro wrestling is a live comic book. Very good. The boss says, I couldn't disagree more about the title changes, but I do agree consistency is key. There you go. And Willie, anytime you can make physical contact with your tag team partner, then that's when it should be legal. I don't agree, but that's okay. To each their own. And this is why I think the clarity is key for this company. Yeah. Hey, NWA Pro Wrestling should have instant replay. You know what? They did this past week. There was a match where, God, I've forgotten it now. Oh, it was Trevor giving the Bulldog to the Thrillbilly. They hit the instant replay. And I went, hey, that's something I don't remember seeing. But that will do it for us today as we run late once again. I got our socials on the bottom, but Jeremy, you want to spit yours out?
You can find me over at Twitter only. That's the only place I'm at. HJWOTS.
Perfect. And Dave Scooby's at Dave Scooby. I'm at on Twitter at NWA Gold and then an underscore because there's some gold and silver company out there that loves my name. But I am updating my website, NWAGold.com. Finally, I've got about 75 belts I need to add up there. So it's going to be a couple weeks, but it is updating pretty consistently, and I'm happy about that. So thank you all in the chat for being here. Thanks to JCal for letting us use his platform once again.
Thank you.
And I have no cool way to say goodbye this time. So we'll steal Jay's, and we'll see till next time. We'll see you at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at The Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are The Alliance.